The rental agreement between the Crown Estate and former Prince Andrew. Now, there was public outrage when it was revealed that Andrew was paying what's called a peppercorn rent, so ostensibly nothing, to live in a 30-room mansion at Great Windsor Park, the Royal Lodge as it's known. Now, after that public outrage, the Public Accounts Committee wrote to the Crown Estate for more information as to how that rental agreement was made up.
After years of resisting pressure to leave Royal Lodge, the former Duke of York is now reportedly preparing to swap his 30-room Windsor mansion for what sources are bluntly calling a shoebox-sized temporary home on the King's Sandringham estate. And what makes this move even more uncomfortable is where that new property may be and who might be watching. This latest revelation shows just how far Andrew has fallen. According to reports, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is expected to vacate Royal Lodge in the new year and move into a small holding property on a remote part of the King's private Norfolk estate. The contrast could not be starker. Royal Lodge has 30 rooms, sprawling grounds, and decades of history attached to Andrew's former status. This new property, by comparison, is said to be modest, temporary, and very much out of sight. Sources stress that this is not meant to be his final home. The understanding is that Andrew will eventually move into a larger property on the Sandringham estate that is currently undergoing extensive renovations. Even so, those familiar with the plans say it will still be significantly smaller than Royal Lodge. In other words, there is no scenario here where Andrew emerges with anything resembling his former lifestyle.
That these generous sweetheart deals that are gifted to royals for lavish, large mansion, manor-type properties perhaps may have to come to an end, or at the very least need to be investigated.
Yeah, those rental figures are quite astounding, Elias. So in the case of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, he will be leaving Royal Lodge, but he won't get any compensation for the early surrender of his lease. And
Royal aides are said to have already begun removing Andrew's belongings from Royal Lodge, and not quietly in the everyday sense. One source told the Mail on Sunday that a royal household lorry arrived under cover of darkness and transported items to a Windsor storage facility belonging to the Crown Estate. That detail alone gives you a sense of how sensitive and carefully managed this departure has become. The reason for the secrecy, according to sources, is partly logistical and partly reputational. Royal Lodge is reportedly in a state of serious disorder. Andrew is described as a natural hoarder, someone who has filled room after room with documents, photographs, and personal collections accumulated over decades. Some ante-rooms are said to be stacked to the ceiling. This is not simply clutter that can be boxed up in a weekend. One source described the process as a room-by-room excavation rather than a move. Around 80% of Andrew's belongings are said to need to go, either into storage or elsewhere. Some items require careful handling, while others linked to royal history may need professional archiving.
The Crown Estate, though, has been essentially a mechanism for the royal family to gift members very generous rental agreements.
According to that same source, even if Andrew wanted to leave tomorrow, he could not. The sheer volume of possessions, combined with refurbishment work at the Sandringham property, means this process is expected to take months. There is also the issue of control. Sources claim Andrew has been reluctant to accept help sorting through his things, which has slowed progress further. That resistance has reportedly frustrated aides who see what should have been a straightforward relocation turning into a drawn-out and delicate operation. Now, let's talk about where exactly Andrew is going, because this is where the story becomes more awkward. One property Andrew is said to have wanted is Wood Farm, the 5-bedroom cottage where Prince Philip spent his retirement. It is a place associated with privacy, simplicity, and dignity. But according to media reports, there has been debate about whether that would place Andrew too close to the rest of the family. That phrase alone raises eyebrows. Too close in what sense? Too visible? Too uncomfortable? Too difficult to ignore? The exact reasoning is unclear, but royal sources suggest that proximity has become a real concern when it comes to Andrew's future living arrangements.
And he's also been stripped of his Knight Grand Cross of Royal Victorian Order, which is the highest order of knighthood within the UK. So it's more of a formality because we knew this was going to happen. But it is yet another reminder that Andrew really has lost everything in terms of his royal titles, apart from, you may recall, the dukedom legally and formally, because that does require an Act of Parliament to completely lose it. But the king has basically done all he can within his power to remove everything he can from his brother.
The precise location of his temporary Sandringham home is being kept secret. Royal sources have declined to comment, and Buckingham Palace has offered no clarification. All that is known is that it is remote, small, and very much a holding solution rather than a long-term base. But even that may not last. Friends of Andrew have told the Mail on Sunday that it is unlikely he will remain in Norfolk full-time. In fact, several sources believe he may leave the United Kingdom altogether. The Middle East is frequently mentioned, particularly Bahrain, where Andrew is said to have long-established business contacts. According to those close to him, Bahrain is seen by many as his ultimate destination in the long term. That possibility adds another layer to this story. If Andrew does relocate abroad, this Sandringham move may simply be a stepping stone, a way to extract him from Royal Lodge quietly while longer-term arrangements are made elsewhere. It would also reduce his visibility within the UK, something that may appeal to both Andrew and the wider institution. What is clear is that this is not a move being made on Andrew's terms. The language used by sources is revealing: temporary, shoebox-sized, remote, under cover of darkness. These are not words associated with dignity or choice. They suggest a man being managed rather than accommodated. And then there is the symbolism of Royal Lodge itself. Once a visible sign of Andrew's status as a senior royal, it has become a liability. Reports have repeatedly described the property as dilapidated, with costly repairs required. Combined with Andrew's loss of official duties and funding, the writing has been on the wall for some time. This move appears to be the final chapter in that long-running dispute. What happens next remains uncertain. Will Andrew quietly settle into his temporary Sandringham home while renovations continue? Will he eventually move into a smaller permanent property on the estate? Or will he, as friends suggest, pack up and leave the UK altogether for the Middle East? For now, the only certainty is that Royal Lodge is being emptied, one lorry at a time, and that the former Duke of York's world continues to shrink, both literally and figuratively. So here is the question I want to leave you with. Do you think this Sandringham move is genuinely temporary, or is it the beginning of Andrew's permanent disappearance from royal life in Britain? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to stay up to date on the latest royal developments, make sure you subscribe to the channel.